Good morning, guys, or afternoon, whenever you happen to be working on this. Today we are going to be working on filling in some doodle notes, really showing some examples of food webs. And I wanted to start with just reviewing what we talked about yesterday. Remember, we talked about that food webs are that flow of energy. I am going to be color coding today, and so if you're going to color code with me, you're going to need a green, a red, and a blue. So if you want to grab those, you can pause me and grab the colors that we're going to be using. Right now, I'm just going to start with my pencil, whatever color, and we're going to fill in some information about food webs, just as a reminder of what we talked about yesterday. We talked about yesterday that food webs represent the natural flow of energy in an ecosystem. And remember, an ecosystem is that combination of living and non-living things in a particular area. A food web is essentially what eats what, right? We're showing how the energy is flowing. It's sometimes even called a consumer resource system, because we have consumers and we have resources, right? In a food web, the direction of the arrow, this is important to remember, represents the direction that energy is traveling. And after each level, the amount of energy available is reduced. Do you guys remember what this rule is? This is our 10% rule. Only 10% of energy travels from one level to the next. So yesterday we talked about how all energy on Earth comes from where? Where does all energy on Earth start? All energy on Earth starts with the sun, right? And with the sun's energy, with that source from the sun, all producers are able to get radiant energy and convert it into chemical energy. So we're going to be looking at an aquatic food web today. And our aquatic food webs, especially in the ocean, when we talk about a marine food web, which is what this one is, a saltwater ocean food web, all of the producers are going to be a little bit more limited, right? Because there's not like big trees of forest in the ocean. However, the ocean has a plethora, a huge variety of what we call phytoplankton. So that energy from the sun is going to feed that phytoplankton. This is going to be our producer. This is where our food web is going to start. Okay, so this is our producer, right? This means it's an autotroph, right? These are microscopic plants. They're very tiny. These are enlarged, like what they look like under the microscope. So these are microscopic plants, autotrophs, that harness the energy of the sun. And so we're going to box this in with green to help us remember that these are producers. These are plants. These get their energy from the sun. These are the fuel for everything else that's above it on that food web. And so we might shade our box in so we remember that that phytoplankton, you're going to see that word again probably on assessments and tests. This phytoplankton is very important because that is what in the ocean captures and harnesses that energy from the sun. Okay, this is going to be our first trophic level in our marine food web. Okay, green plants, green plants. Now, what's going to eat plants? Well, we just follow the arrow. We follow the arrow to zooplankton. Now, this one says plankton, and this one says plankton. This one says phyto. That means it gets its energy from the sun, right? This is a similar word part to photo, right? Photoplankton, phytoplankton, they both get their energy from the sun. Zooplankton What's in a zoo? Lots and lots of animals. Zoo is a word part that means animal. So this is plankton, very, very microscopic organisms that are animals, right? These are heterotrophs. They consume the phytoplankton to get their energy. So we're going to use red to represent all of our consumers in this food web. So our zooplankton is going to be another consumer. These are tiny animals that live in the water and get eaten by many fish. And zooplankton are going to be our herbivore because they eat phytoplankton. Okay? Does that make sense? Everybody tracking so far? We're going to show our energy transfer by shading our arrows blue. So we're going to watch how our arrows show that energy movement. So we start with the radiant energy from the sun. Plants capture that radiant energy and turn it into chemical energy. And then zooplankton, our little microscopic organisms. I'm going to shade this red so we remember that they eat other organisms to survive. Zooplankton eats plants, but could be plants or animals for some of our consumers. Okay, and so all of our little guys over here, our little krill, right? You may have heard that whales like to eat krill, right? All of our little organisms in our little bubble, these are our zooplankton, our animals that consume our phytoplankton in order to survive, right? And support the life of lots of marine animals by being the food for them. Okay, so we're going to show our energy being transferred again. So we're going to shade our arrow blue so it sticks out nice and bright for us. And this energy is going to get transferred to some sardines, right? Our sardines are going to eat our zooplankton and be supported for their life. These are small fish that are essential food for birds. Lots of marine mammals like dolphins and other fish. So sardines are going to be another consumer, right? They consume that zooplankton for survival. So we're going to shade their box in red. They eat other organisms to survive. Okay. Now our energy is going to keep traveling through these sardines to, ooh, we got a little birdie. A little birdie up here sitting on the water. It says, ooh, I like sardines for lunch. This is called a gannet. It is a large seabird that's known for catching fish by plunge diving, right? They dive and capture the fish. So sometimes they float on the surface of the water. This little gray line across is like our water line. And so we're going to shade this red because they are going to eat those fish. They are also a consumer. Okay, and we can shade our little box so that we remember that this organism has to consume other organisms to survive. Okay. Now, that's the end of that one, right? We started with phytoplankton. We got zooplankton eats the phytoplankton. The sardines eat the zooplankton, and the gannet eats the sardines. Is that the end? No, because there are multiple food chains in a food web. So if we go back here to our sardines, what else is going to eat the sardines? Where's our energy flowing? it's also going to flow to the tuna. Okay, so now let's highlight this path. See, a food web is multiple food chains that interact. So we're going to follow our next path to see what other types of organisms are in this web. Now, tuna is a large fish. You maybe eat tuna, right? It is a top consumer in the oceanic food web. Okay, and so this is going to be a predator that eats a lot of sardines. And I also like to eat tuna, so I could be in this food web. I'm not going to write consumer again because it's already right here, right? We've said that it's a consumer. So we're going to shade that in. Okay. Now, what's going to eat the tuna? Right? Tuna is a top consumer. So if this is a top consumer, what's going to eat a top consumer? Well, an even bigger predator, right? An even more intimidating creature in our oceanic food web. The shark, right? The shark is what we call a top predator, right? It is one of the, it's at the top of the food chain, right? It is not preyed upon by many things. And so this is a top predator. It's at the top of the food chain, if you've ever heard that term before. And so this is also going to be a consumer. And we also know that it's a special type of consumer. It is a carnivore. It only eats meat. Our tuna is also a carnivore. Carnivores are predators, right? They prey on other organisms to be able to survive. And so our shark is our top predator in this direction, right? And guys, you can feel free to color your diagrams. Just makes it a little bit more fun to see in your journal. Gives you some time to think about what we've talked about in class and process all this information. So these sharks are at the top of this particular marine food chain in this direction. So at the top in both directions, we've got our shark and we've got our gannet. Okay. Now, if we look down here at the bottom, there's a little task for you. Draw your own simple food web using these organisms. Label each one and briefly describe its role in the web. So if we look over here, we've got grass. That's our producer, so we know that that's where our food web is going to start. Okay, so I'm going to draw my grass, right? I'm going to label it as a producer. Okay, so I've got my grass. Now, what's going to eat my grass that's over here? What's going to be my grass eaters? Well, I think that rabbits might eat grass and other plants, right? So let's draw me a little rabbit. Well, I'm going to switch to, let's draw me a little gray bunny rabbit. Right. There's my bunny. With his little tail, right? Maybe his little paws. I'm not a great artist, but it is fun, right? This is our rabbit. He is a consumer, so I'm going to label him with red, and he is specifically an herbivore. So he is a consumer, he is an herbivore, okay? Now there's something else on this list that's also going to eat grass. The hawks eat grass? No. Snakes? No. But mice sometimes eat seeds and grass. So I'm going to draw my little arrow. On this side, I'm going to give me a little mouse, right? Got my little head, a little Mickey Mouse is what I'm going to draw. right? Got a little whiskers. There's my little mouse. He's got his little body, his little tail. Now, a mouse. Oh, I forgot to label my rabbit over here. A mouse is also going to be a consumer. And mice are herbivores. Okay, so we've got our herbivore, our rabbit, our mouse, herbivore, but these are both consumers that are going to eat our grass. Now, what on our list over here is left that's going to eat one of our herbivores? Poor little mouse, poor little rabbit. What's going to eat them? Snakes are known for eating mice, right? Maybe if you've ever had a pet snake, you've fed them mice, right? And so from our mouse, we're going to have our snake. Ooh, it's like a two-headed snake. Miss Young needs to practice her snake drawing skills. Ignore my little extra leg over there. Here's our snake, right? Little forked tongue on him. Maybe he's got some little stripes. He's gonna have a little cloud around him for my oopsie. Okay, so here's our snake. He's on a tree. Now our snake is going to be also a consumer. But what type of consumer is he? He's not going to be an herbivore. He is a carnivore. Right? And so that snake is going to consume our rabbit and our mouse, right? He's not picky. He can eat either one. He likes little baby rabbits. He likes little mice. Okay? What else do I have left over here? I've still got my hawk. So I'm going to draw my hawk over here. I don't know that I can draw a hawk very well. He's going to have big wings. And he's got to have a beak. Ooh, maybe he's got some feathers, right? I got to label him so you guys know what I'm drawing. Our hawk, right? Our hawk is going to be a top predator. He is a carnivore, which is also a consumer, right? And he's not picky. He is going to eat lots of these. He'll eat rabbits, he'll eat snakes, and he'll even eat mice. So now, do you guys see how this web shows the interactions between the organisms that we listed over here and what their job is in this food web, right? Our top predator, our hawk, all relies on that producer to take that energy from the sun, create stored chemical energy that the rabbit and the mice can eat. The snake might eat the rabbit, the snake might eat the mouse. The hawk, he can eat lots of these. So our arrows are showing the direction that the energy is flowing. The energy is flowing to the top predator, that top carnivore in the system. So I hope that helps you guys. You can feel free to color in the rest of the parts that we did not with whatever you choose in our marine food web. And we will do energy pyramids tomorrow. Have a great weekend, guys.